Am I in shot? Am I good? All right. Good evening, everyone. Hi, everybody. My name's Kirsten. I'm part of the marketing team at Florist Books. Thank you so much for joining us at Waterstones this evening. We are here tonight to celebrate Mike Nicholson, who's been part of the Florist family for almost 20 years now. Mike first joined us back in 2005 when Catscape, a story of unlikely friendships, unexpected allies and cat surveillance, won the very first Kelpie's Prize for New Scottish Writing. Since then, he's gone from strength to strength, covering pretty much all the bases in children's writing. There's Grimm, a spooky and intriguing novel about a haunted hotel. There's the Thistle series, a trilogy of fabulous picture books which introduce kids to Scots words. And there's the Museum Mystery Squad, a fantastic series of chapter books illustrated by another Mike Phillips, each inspired by a different historical artifact or museum exhibit. So far, we've had the case of the moving mammoth, the case of the hidden hieroglyphics, the case of the curious coins, the case of the Roman riddle, the case of the vanishing Viking. All very puzzling and mysterious, but the Museum Mystery Squad's most recent brain-teasing, totally improbable puzzle is completely out of this world. Before we start that countdown and switch the engines on, a couple of housekeeping bits and pieces. If the fire alarm goes off, it is not a drill. Follow the green fire exit signs that direction. We are live streaming the event tonight, so please try not to walk across the front of the stage. And if you are tweeting or Instagramming or Facebooking or social mediaing in general, we are using hashtag Museum Mystery Squad. And now, to commence launch procedures, I'd love to introduce Eleanor Collins, one of our editorial directors who's been working closely with Mike for many years now. Please give her a very warm welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, everyone. Such a pleasure to see everyone here tonight at Waterstones. So lovely of Waterstones to have us. Give you a very warm welcome to launch this rocket out of the atmosphere. I mean, to launch this wonderful book into the world. I'm Eleanor Collins. I'm Joint Editorial Director at Florist Books here in Edinburgh. As Kirsten has said, we're rapidly reaching the stage when the unit of measurement for how long Mike has been publishing with Florist will shift from years to decades. All his books have been shining stars in the Florist galaxy, but the Museum Mystery Squad series holds a special place in our hearts and in the hearts of readers. Its immensely satisfying combination of a mystery-solving plot with a museum setting hours in many countries, but especially here in Scotland. As a series, it really only needed to be shot into an out-of-this-world dimension to achieve cosmic greatness, and that's what we're here to do tonight. Because this sparkling new addition to the series is set in the museum's space zone. Yes, it's all high-tech NASA kit and low-tech planet puns in proper Museum Mystery Squad style. In this exciting installment, someone delivers a letter to the museum threatening to steal an exhibit from the space zone unless money is left on the space capsule steps. I'm going to let you find out for yourselves how the squad deals with that Jupiter-sized problem. What I am going to reveal to you are the secrets of Mike Nicholson's success. After all this time working with Mike's stories, I feel well qualified to list for you the three absolutely stellar aspects of Mike's writing. And the number one of the three, no mystery here, is his characters. Mike invents characters that we totally love. It's fair to say that Nabster, Kennedy, Laurie, and Colin have become entirely real for me. And when Mike sent in his draft of the new book, I was so happy to be hanging out with them again. It was like being with old friends. The Museum Mystery Squad series has had numerous glowing reviews, and one of the early ones for the case of the moving mammoth from Manhattan Book Review said, "The characters are unique, intelligent, and likeable. And I absolutely agree with every word of that assessment. Solving mysteries alongside these characters is just so much fun. Number 2 in my list of 3 stellar aspects of Mike's writing is his humour. It's a good thing I have a soft spot for bad puns, because museum security guard Gus is always there to provide them. But on top of Gus's efforts, the whole book's full of snappy dialogue and amusing juxtapositions and silly setups. And to celebrate Mike's humour, I've found 3 space jokes for you all, to warm you up for reading Mike's jokes later in the book. So, joke number 1. Why didn't the sun go to university? Because it already had 15 million degrees. Why did the restaurant on the moon get bad reviews?
I don't know.
Because it had no atmosphere. And what's an astronaut's favourite junk food?
I don't know.
Come on, Mars bars. Finally, the 3rd stellar aspect of Mike's writing is his capacity to create big, exciting, zany scenes. All the Museum Mystery Squad books have moments of thrilling drama and suspense, and they all end with a final flourish that would rightly stretch credibility, but Mike carries us along beyond our better judgment to outlandish heights. I thoroughly recommend you read the conclusion of The Case from Outer Space, but I actually don't need to recommend this because it's such an edge-of-your-seat mystery, you'll be dying to find out who done it and why. Like all good books that explain the absence of gravity in space, you'll find it impossible to put down. I also want to mention the incredibly talented Mike Phillips, our illustrator, his brilliant detail, his humour, his patience with us. Big, big thank yous to Richard Wainment and Jenny Skinner, who are old friends of the squad at Floris and have worked hard to pull this book together. Thank you, Kirsten, for the event. Thank you to all of you for coming out and making it a proper launch. And most of all, thanks to Mike. Appreciation and congratulations on the new book.
I think this is my bit now. Thanks very much, everyone, for coming. I've got a few other thank yous to say, and then I have got a few things for you to do as well. So let's get to that. So I feel that a bit like putting someone on the moon, there are a lot of people behind a book being published. A lot of them are here tonight from Floris, and I want to say a big, big thank you to the Floris team who've worked hard on this and enthusiastically get behind all of the books that I've been involved in, editorially, design-wise, marketing, and probably a whole range of roles that I'm not even familiar with. So I'd like to say particular thanks though to Jenny and Eleanor, who from my point of view on the editorial team, their thoroughness pushes me along, tests me out, and always produces a better book. It does take a long time to get a book out, so they also have to put up with me getting twitchy about how long it's taking, but we always get there in the end, so big thanks to them for all their work. I'd also like to say a huge thanks to Mike Phillips, the illustrator, who sadly and slightly weirdly, I have still never met or spoken to. I now start to see his illustrations as I write the books, without a doubt. So for example, if I wonder what it's like to sneeze inside an astronaut's helmet, I immediately know that that will turn into a brilliant Mike Phillips illustration. And this book has some of his best ones yet in the series, I think. So I do realise that shock horror, some people here might be at the starting point with the Museum Mystery Squad and not know anything about it. So I'm going to give a very quick explanation. It really all began when Floris asked me if I had any ideas for a series of mystery adventure books for 6 to 8 year olds roughly, and with featuring the same characters. And at that point I was walking past here. And I thought, I wonder if you could set a series of books in the same building. I thought, no, surely the same building would just become a bit boring after a while. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute, what if each of the zones in the museum did something? And what if, and I began to sort of think my way through the museum and think, what if you went downstairs and along corridors and down even more stairs And then there was this mysterious room in the basement of the museum, and behind the door of that museum, that room, there was your classic sort of mystery-solving group of children. And that is how the Museum Mystery Squad was born, just with that simple idea of what ifs. What if that room was in the museum, which it obviously is, now that these people really do exist. So, and I began to write, and what came out was pretty much this. Some people think that museums are boring places. Glass cases, old stuff, dust. Wrong. Think more of wild animals, ancient mummies, groundbreaking technology, colourful costumes, glittering treasure, and amazing objects found nowhere else in the world. Then imagine that the museum, each thing in the museum has its own strange story, with secrets from the past to be uncovered, codes to be cracked, odd characters and their fiendish plans, each one creating a job for a team of expert investigators, the Museum Mystery Squad. In this book, you'll find the squad in the depths of the museum, somewhere in a maze of corridors and stairs. Today, like every day, they have a puzzle to solve. And when I wrote that, I actually checked today, when did I write that bit? And I wrote it in about 2015. I found the first draft of it. And because that was what formulated the idea in my head, and then the stories kind of came from there. But that sort of idea, and I think it pretty much, that's one of the few bits that didn't get edited very much, because that just sort of named what this was all about, that series. I've completely forgotten what the next slide is. What was it? Oh yeah, the Museum Mystery Squad. So yeah, I better introduce you to the Museum Mystery Squad, who are, so Kennedy, as that illustration shows, she's the fast-paced one, always on the move, often the first to the scene, always the first with her ideas of what might be going on. Then there's Nabster, who loves nothing more than, this slide by the way has its own life, so I'll just let it run. And it does that, and there's one more. Oh, maybe there's not. Oh, yes, there is. Anyway, Nabster is the squad's gadget inventor. He loves nothing more than to invent crazy gadgets that will often help the squad solve a mystery, and sometimes won't, but that's his favourite thing. Laurie, well, does he seem useful? He doesn't seem useful. He spends most of his time in a sleeping bag on the settee, which might not seem particularly useful, but he always asks the right questions. So this voice will emerge from the sleeping bag, and it will be a really perceptive question. So he's got great questions, Laurie. And then every mystery-solving gang needs some kind of creature. I decided that they needed a hamster. Colin the hamster is unwittingly the fourth member of the Museum Mystery Squad. He spends most of his time eating carrots and sleeping, which again might not seem particularly helpful, but there's always something that Colin does in a very hamstery sort of way, which helps them crack the case. So you have to keep your eye on what Colin's up to, because that will help along the way. Madagascar, she is the museum's director. So she will always, early on in the mystery, she'll present the squad with whatever has happened in the museum that she needs them to look into. And her name suggests the fact that I do like a good pun, which also leads us on to Gus, who is the museum's security guard, who always has a key role in each of the stories as well. But there is a big problem with Gus, which is why there was a danger sign over him, and it's why I hadn't actually risk assessed this bit of this evening. But are you up for a bit of danger this evening? Is everyone up for a bit of danger this evening? So Gus does like an absolutely terrible joke. So what I like to do is try out some of Gus's terrible jokes on the audience and see if they can react in the same way that Museum Mystery Squad do, which is not laugh and absolutely straight face it, okay? So I'm going to give you 40 seconds of Gus jokes and see if you can not laugh at these jokes. That is your challenge. Now, because Gus's jokes, I've got Gus's joke book with me, because they are actually so dangerous and unpleasant, I need to wear protective glasses and gloves to handle a joke book. It's not for the faint-hearted, this. And that's why we're only doing 40 seconds of them, because they are pretty painful. Here we go, Gus's joke book. So are you ready? Yeah. Straight faces. Here we go. What is orange and sounds like a parrot? A carrot. What is the best time of year to jump on a trampoline? Spring. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the cupboard? Supplies! Did you hear about the 2 thieves who stole a calendar? They each got 6 months. What's it like reading a book about anti-gravity? You can't put it down. What did the drummer call his twin daughters? And a 1 and a 2. What did the buffalo say when the boy left the herd? Bye, son. Okay. What's the fastest thing in the bakery? Scone. Did you hear the joke about the rubbish submarine? Didn't go down well. I think we better leave it at that. So there we go. That's Gus's jokes. So if you don't like that sort of humour, please don't read these jokes. I actually ran these jokes past the Florist editorial team before tonight. They said they were pretty average. I thought pretty average was a bit mean. Keep up, keep up. A lot of people tell me that kids just like poo jokes. They're not really my favourite, but they are a solid number 2, I have to say. So. Anyway, moving on. I think, are there some objects? Oh yeah, so this is proof that it is the National Museum of Scotland, Chamber Street, that gave me the inspiration, because here's an illustration from the moving mammoth with the steps at the museum, and a fantastic scene from Mike Phillips, the illustrator. But what actually gave me the idea for each of the different books, so again, the next slide will show that it's basically objects in the museum that, or not necessarily in the Chamber Street Museum, but in museums generally, that gave me the idea for each book. A mammoth, a mummified cat, coins and robots, a gladiator's helmet. When I saw that picture, I immediately imagined smoke coming out of those holes, and that's where the story came from. It's the most Scooby-Doo of the stories. A Viking longship, that's a photo from the museum in Oslo. So again, I've sort of pinched ideas from other museums and sort of put them into the Chamber Street one. And so with 5 books done, I was looking for inspiration, and I saw that. And that was my inspiration for The Case from Outer Space. And weirdly, I was actually doing a Museum Mystery Squad event in the Hunterian Museum in Glasgow, and that was right beside me in a glass case. And that is known as the High Postle meteorite, which landed somewhere near Glasgow in 1804. And I thought, oh, a meteorite in a museum, that's quite interesting. And I thought, what other space things do you get in museums? And I thought, well, you actually even get space capsules in museums, you get space suits, you get rocks that were on the moon and have actually been brought back. And that museum zones for space can look something like that, with planets hanging up in the ceiling. And that is what then became The Case from Outer Space. All of those things combined into a room like that. So I thought tonight I would read you a small scene from The Case from Outer Space, but I think before then, is there a quiz? There is a quiz which everyone can take part in. Hooray! So we've got 6 questions in the quiz, and I thought what I'd get is I'd get you all to stand up, and we'll see who's still right at the end of 6 questions. So if you want to stand up, if you don't want to take part, feel free to stay seated. And what we'll do is I'll hit you with the first question, which is, the rings around Saturn are made out of the smoke from lots of burnt toast. Hands up if you think it's true. Hands up if you think it's true. Keep your hands down if you think it's false. It's going to be a short quiz because that's actually true. It's not true. Right, you're all still in the quiz. Okay, 5 questions to go. True or false, the word astronaut comes from the Greek meaning star sailor. Hands up if you think it's true. Hands down if you think it's, keep your hands down if you think it's false. This is true. So if you've got your hands up, you're still on your feet. Brilliant. 3rd question. Now this is about the new book, so this is going to test you out. In The Case from Outer Space, the director of the American Space Museum, which features in the book, is called Pennsylvania. Hands up if you think that's true. Hands down if you think it's false. If you got your hands up, you're going to have to sit down. Pennies. Whoa, that sorted them out. Penny Sylvania was one of the possibilities, of course, but in fact, she is called California. So, okay, 2 questions to go, I think. The first letters of the words, my very elegant mother, who's sitting just over there, standing, she's still in the quiz, just served up nachos, can be used to remember the correct order of the planets from the sun. So MVEMJSUN, is that the correct order of planets from the sun? Hands up if you think that's true. Hands down if you think it's false. Big clues, you should just be copying the florist team here. So, it is true, it is true. So yes, we have Mercury, Venus, etc., etc. You have to read the book and you'll get it. And 2 questions to go. In the case from outer space, the David Bowie songs Space Oddity, Life on Mars, and Starman all get a mention. Hands up if you think it's true. Hands down if you think it's false. If you got your hands up, you'll need to sit down. Again, it was plausible. There is a David Bowie song hidden in there. If anyone wants to come up and tell me at the end what it is, having had a quick skim through the book, I'll give you a copy of one of my own books. Okay, finally, and who's still standing? Tommy, my big brother. And you, is this it? Here we go. In the case from outer space, Napster invents the hover hoover and the smell sampler. Is this true? Hands up if you think it's true. Hands down if you think it's false. It is true. He invents both of those. Hooray! Our winners are still standing. Congratulations.
I'm sitting down, but I'm still taking part.
You made your way through 6 questions. Well done. Thank you very much for taking part. That gives you a little insight into 1 or 2 things in the book. It's the next thing. Yeah. Shall we do a quick bit of gadget inventing before I read the book? Are you up for some gadget inventing? Okay, so what I quite like to do is, and in fact what Napster does, is pretty much take some sticky bits of cardboard, take some household objects and reinvent them. So I would like 4 household objects. Who can give me any household object from any room in the house? Yeah, Callum. A washing machine, right. We are going to reinvent the washing machine tonight. Okay, now I need 3 more objects. Mabel. A lampshade. Great idea. Okay, a lampshade. Fantastic. Yes. Yes. A toilet. Let's reinvent the toilet tonight. It's high time we did that, I think. And yes, Murdo. The TV. Let's reinvent. Whoops. Using the right side of the paper. Let's reinvent the TV. Fantastic. Right. Okay. So I am going to have to do a bit of spatial awareness here. I always get that bit wrong. Okay. I now need 3 volunteers to help me reinvent these things. So, Tiffany, do you want to help me? Do you want to stand behind the green cards there? That'd be great. And do you want to come and stand behind the yellow ones there? And who I'll take from Tommy, do you want to come down? So we are going to invent a few different household objects this evening, and this is the kind of thing that Napster gets involved in. So can you hold that one up to the audience to let them see what it is first? Other way around. The lampshade, right? This is going to be the lampshade. So Tiffany, can you pick up the first card there? We are going to, how about the wind up? Can you lift up your card? The wind up chocolate. Wind up chocolate lamp. Is that going to work?
Yeah! A chocolate! Fake chocolate!
This is kind of a Dragon's Den sort of situation here. Replaces. It's not going to work.
It is going to work.
I'm a bit worried about what happens when the bulb warms up. But we'll see. Let's try something else. Let's put those ones down over there, and you lift up your one, Tommy, first. So we're going to do the washing machine. Right, Tiffany, go for that. Let's go. Bicycle powered. I like this. Okay, this could work. This could work. Right. Bicycle powered. Now this is both eco-friendly and pretty good on the feng shui sort of a thing. So yeah, washing machines could work. Okay. So that's better than the chocolate lampshade, right? Okay, let's try the next one. Okay, yeah. Tommy, do you want to lift yours up so we know what we're doing first? The TV. Okay, can you? Oh, I think we might have this already in the world. Voice activated. And can you lift yours up? That's pretty much where we're at in the 21st century, I think. I think we're actually behind the curve on this one. Right, let's try the last one. What's the last one? It's the toilet. It's the toilet. What have we got? Okay. Yeah, go for it. Can you lift yours up? Rocket assisted. Right. I think, what do we think? The rocket assisted pocket-sized toilet. Yes, I think that one might win. Right, do you want to put those down? Right, okay, you guys can go back to your seats. A round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's I'm making some quick notes. Those will feature in future books without a doubt. So this is really just a large focus group. So there we go. I think it's time for a reading from the book. So as Eleanor said at the start, someone has sent a mysterious, threatening letter to the museum, pretty much saying, leave out an envelope of money on the space capsule steps or one of the objects in the space zone will go missing. Who wrote the letter? Why did they write the letter? Can the crime be stopped? The squad are called in, and along with Gus, they hatch a plan. They will leave a fake envelope and watch who comes to collect it. So here's what happens next. And this scene features my favourite ever Mike Phillips illustration. How long does it take someone to do that? It's amazing. At that moment, there was a crackle from Gus's walkie-talkie. He listened in, looking a bit confused. That's odd. Some patchy message about a security alert at the front entrance. Not clear who was speaking. Can you lot keep an eye on things here while I check it out? It was just 15 minutes until 3 o'clock. Gus said he'd be back in time to apprehend the blackmailer if they turned up. He hurried off, and the museum mystery squad quickly made their way over to the space capsule to set their trap. Right, said Kennedy. We need to lull our blackmailer into believing the cash is on the capsule steps. Ta-da! Napster pulled a fat envelope out of his equipment bag. Catching our culprit should be easy with Operation Bubble Wrap. He revealed a large, padded envelope. Now we need a good hiding place, said Laurie. Napster climbed the capsule steps. In here, this is perfect. There are 3 seats, and if we keep low, we can stay out of sight. Good idea, said Kennedy, climbing inside. Napster smiled dreamily. Surrounded by switches, buttons, dials and levers, he was in gadget heaven. Is there a sofa anywhere? Asked Laurie, looking for his usual place to lie down. Oh, look, that's clever. You can see out of the roof. He was nodding to a small glass panel connected to a periscope on top of the capsule. Distracted from their trap setting, the squad were fascinated by their new surroundings. Laurie got comfy on his seat, while Kennedy spotted the button that activated the parachute, when suddenly, clang, the capsule door slammed shut. The squad all looked at each other. It wasn't me, said Laurie, who'd been last in. Kennedy checked her watch. It's 3 o'clock. Napster reached over and pushed at the door. Nothing happened. He pushed harder. Still no movement. Has Gus come back yet? Gus! They hammered on the door. Maybe he's trying to be funny, said Napster. Well, I'm not laughing, Kennedy frowned. Laurie peered through the periscope. I can't see the room well, but there's no sign of him. At that moment, there was a darkening on the periscope's lens, a shadow-like movement right outside. What was that? Laurie asked urgently. Someone's out there, said Kennedy. What if it's the blackmailer? Can you see who it is? Asked Napster. The three friends jostled for position inside the tiny metal container. Eventually, they each managed a moment with half an eye looking through the periscope, but it was impossible to see properly. At that moment, a loud voice echoed around their heads and a red light flashed above. Prepare for liftoff. 20 seconds and counting. They stared at each other in fear. What's happening? What does it mean liftoff? We need to get out. The capsule began to shudder. It's moving, shouted Kennedy. This isn't really happening, is it? Laurie's eyes were wide. The letter said the countdown is on, remembered Napster, and that a special something might lift off. What if that special something is us? Panicking, the three friends strapped themselves in. 10, 9, 8, ignition sequence starting. Lights flickered around the capsule. 7, 6, 5, 4. Hold tight, cried Napster. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running. We have liftoff. We also have the end of chapter 5. So I think I'm going to finish there. And if there's any questions, I am happy to take them and attempt to answer them. And I'll just have a little drink of water before that happens. So, and I think Kirsten's going to come round if we need a mic, but we might manage without. And if there's no questions, I'll just sit on this comfy seat.
I've got some questions if no one else does. There we go, there's a question. What's your
Murdo,
question?
what's your question?
My question, what do you think is going to happen after the countdown?
What do you think is going to happen after the countdown? Do you want me to tell you? It's exactly what happens at the start of chapter 6. Yeah.
Are there baddies in your books?
Always. But the problem is you don't know who the baddie is, usually until the last chapter.
In disguise.
I'm heavily influenced by Scooby-Doo. And if I go around schools, I'm always saying, why do people like... Are there Scooby-Doo fans here tonight? Any Scooby-Doo fans? Yeah. And I always say, why do people like Scooby-Doo? And they usually say, because it's funny, and it's mysterious, and there's always a villain to unmask. So there's always a villain to unmask in a Museum Mystery Squad story. Any other questions? Tommy?
How many buttons were there in the capsule?
Well, do you know, if we go back to that picture, we could start counting them, actually.
I really want to start counting them.
Yeah, Tiffany.
Which one is the first Mystery Squad? Because I haven't read them yet.
That's a really good question. Well, we wrote them, and we made that decision with the editorial team as well, that we would try and write them so that it doesn't matter which one you start with. So you can actually start with this one, or start with any of them, because there's not, each story is its own independent story. So you don't have to read them in order. Yeah.
Have you seen every hidden room in Edinburgh Museum?
No, I haven't. And also, I thought today, how many objects actually are there? You know, how big could this series be? So, any guesses on how many objects there are in the National Museum of Scotland's collection? How many do you think?
I was going to ask a different question.
Oh, right. Just say a big number.
Infinity.
You're not far wrong. So there's 12 million objects. I was like, what? That can't be right. So yeah, just to let florists know, there's quite a few more books to come. So yeah. Yeah. Yes, sorry.
Can we make the rocket-powered pocket-sized toilet?
I think we need to. I'll give you that idea, and if I see that on TV in 20 years' time that there's a good-looking young man has invented that, then it will be you. And you'll say, it came from a book launch I went to. So, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
How many more books in the Museum Mystery Squad do you think you're going to write?
Well, it's what is 12 million minus 6. So, yeah.
That's 11 million.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good question. I don't know the answer to that. So, but there are a few ideas bubbling around. Yeah. What's my favourite book that I've written so far? I get asked that, and I always struggle a little bit because that's like saying which of your children's your favourite children. So, but what I do have is favourite scenes in the book. So I do really like the closing scene in this one. In fact, those are usually the scenes. Quite often I write the end scene first because I have to work out I have to know who the villain is and how they get caught. So I quite often write that first. But I think it's also because I really like those scenes. So there, catching the villain is my favourite scene. Derek.
Where can we source your excellent t-shirts?
Well, this is actually a unique print, Derek. So you'd have to pay me a lot of money. So yeah, it's not actually a merchandise range as yet. Yeah, well, could do. Could be a bit chilly going home though. Yeah. Yes. Well, there's usually about 11, so I'm guessing there's about 11. I'm looking at Eleanor, who helped with the editing. Jenny, you'll know. 11, there, see? There's 11, yeah.
Are you going to do an audiobook?
That's a very good question as well. Again, there aren't any plans to at the moment, but that is a really good question. Maybe there should be.
What percentage of your books are printed or sales are done in paper and digital?
Katie.
So digital's grown hugely in books, obviously, over the last few years, but in children's it's still really small.
Yeah.
Most parents and kids and teachers and librarians still prefer buying physical books for kids, and you're all parents, so I think you all understand why. So digital sales are really, really small in children's, less than 5% in children.
Great. Yes, Murdo.
Well, I'm thinking about why is there a hamster in this? It's Colin.
It's Colin.
No, but who is in it? Colin the hamster.
How did he get there? Yeah, Mabel. How long does it take to write a book? Oh, well, how long is a piece of string? I can actually write a first draft. If I'm being good and just make myself sit down and write, I could write a very rough first draft of one of those books in a week, just doing a couple of hours a day. But I never do that. So it takes me a lot longer. So, and then wait till the editors get their hands on it. Whoa, dearie me. Then we're back to that infinity number. No, I'm only joking. Yep.
There's no gravity on space, so why don't they have a space helmet on or anything?
Well, that's them just in the scene in the museum. Yeah. Right, yes.
I don't really see any of Colin's hands, so is he standing on something inside that? I want to find out now.
I will warn you that quite often the scenes on the front of the Museum Mystery Squad books don't actually happen. So controversial, I know, but so you might not find an explanation inside as to how Colin got up there. Yes, Juliet.
Why did you make Colin a hamster?
Why did I call him Colin, or why did?
Why did you make Colin a hamster?
Oh, right.
Not a guinea pig.
Oh, I see. I decided I didn't. Yeah, I just wanted a small creature, and then I decided I want someone that was could be quite lazy, but just had this little quirkiness that he does hamstery things that could help to solve mysteries. I might be running out of. I don't think I've got 12 million hamstery different things that would help him solve mysteries. That could be my downfall, actually. So yeah, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Yeah. Who's the baddie? Yeah, I can't tell you that.
That's the question about books.
Yeah, that would be a spoiler. That's what's known as a spoiler if I gave an answer to that question. So, yeah.
Why is Gus so bad at puns?
Well, I think he's really good at puns.
Why did you have to say the book was deadly? Why did you handle it with Rob?
Yeah. Gus is basically an autobiographical character. The Secrets, it's a well-known secret. Yeah. Right, are we done? Did you want to ask any of yours?
I'm going to ask one question just because I had it. If you were going on a trip to outer space, what would you take with you and why?
I'd probably have to take a jar of. Can I take a few things? Could I take a jar of peanut butter and a jar of Marmite?
Oh, that's sensible.
Because I have those together on toast every morning.
Excellent.
So I'd need a
You've gotta
toaster
have
and
those
some bread as well.
provisions, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent answer.
Peanut butter and Marmite.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
But what about the gravity? You won't be able to breathe on space if you don't bring a space helmet or a spaceship.
Have I got my priorities wrong?
They're
But have you ever had
gadget
peanut
for
butter
that.
and Marmite? It is really amazing. Yeah.
I know, but you need to breathe. Breathing is much better than food.
Well, I really don't think you've had peanut butter and Marmite. It's really good. Yeah.
All right, well, I think that is us running out of time. So thank you very much to all of you for coming. Thank you so much to Waterstones for hosting us this evening. Let's put our hands together one last time for Mike Nicholson.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, guys. Fabulous. Mike is going to be sitting over here behind this impressive stack of his books. If you would like to get your books signed, please pay for them at the till point first. The Waterstone staff will be very appreciative of that. And please do head over and help yourself to a bit of Museum Mystery Squad book cake. And there is, I think there's still some wine left as well, so feel free to grab another drink. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and good evening.